Hi everyone, welcome to week 2 of Classroom Design. I hope the first week went well for you, and I'm looking forward to hearing what your projects are going to be. It's really important that the project is something that you can manage, something that you can tweak, something that you can scratch if it's really not working, or something that you can continue to improve upon. Really, the main skill, the main piece of information that I wanted you to come away with was what is design thinking and how can it have a positive effect on your classroom as a whole, starting with the physical space of your classroom and possibly moving into other areas. So this is a Google Office space. When you notice this, when you look at this space, it might not automatically remind you of visiting your father or your mother in their offices. It still doesn't remind me of that, although my husband works in an office space where the walls are glass. They moved into that space. It wasn't designed for them. Google and Facebook and all of these places, all of these businesses have really started to think about what might keep their employees happy, what might keep them motivated, what might keep the ideas going. And the physical space is only part of it. A lot of these organizations have sort of free-for-all Fridays where every week they have one day where they don't have to focus on the project that's been assigned to them, but rather create a project that is interesting to them. And those projects have then spun off to become major projects for Google or for Facebook or for any of these other groups. My older son had an English teacher last year who allowed her students, if they had her on a Friday, that was her catch-up day. So any questions that they had, any projects that they were working on, any issues that they might have, they didn't have to stay after school for. She allowed them this 1 or 2 Fridays a month to be able to really talk to each other and to talk to her about what could make their projects or their assignments better and how they could continue to better their own work. And I think that that's a valid piece of our teaching, is not only handing out these assignments to kids, but then allowing them to use those assignments as a springboard to create new and better projects based on their own interests. Using a space like this, you see the color, certainly, you see the comfort, you see the variety of places in which people can work. And I think that oftentimes when we think about our classrooms, we forget that allowing kids the space, maybe not exactly looking like this because you want there to have obviously order in your classroom, but the colors strike you and the variety of areas in which they can work, that some of these spaces offer a space where they can work alone or that they can collaborate with each other. And even looking at this photograph, you can see that some people are working alone and some people are working with others, and those are the kinds of environments that we want to encourage in our students. Even if our classroom doesn't look like this, doesn't look 21st century, even if it's a reminder to a very traditional classroom, you can still create those spaces in your classroom. You'd be amazed by what bringing a few bean bags into the classroom to try it might do. This is kind of the same idea, and maybe if you'll excuse the expression, on speed, right? This is Zappos office space, and Zappos, if you're not familiar, is a completely online service shoe store. And you can see the boxes of shoes and the shoes all around to be inspiration, and their main focus is customer service. And so when we think about our jobs as teachers, part of what we do every day delves into customer service, whether it's relating to our students, relating to the material, relating to the parents, relating to our fellow teachers. Customer service is a big part of what we do. So obviously they've allowed their people to decorate their workspace in any way that they want to. I'm not sure that hanging a Chinese dragon in your classroom is the way to go, but helping the kids, allow them to have input into what their space looks like, can make the classroom a more learner-centered classroom. Here's an innovative classroom space. Again, I'm not suggesting that you tear down the walls, but if you look, you can see that there are a variety of spaces where the kids can work. This actually represents what a future classroom might look like. In fact, if you read that piece, the final piece that I put in the research, you'll see that this is one piece that the author was pushing, the idea of more than one classroom in one, more than one teacher, more than one grade level. It represents what true 21st century learning should be. There's areas where kids can work independently, there's areas where kids can work on the floor, at desks, collaboratively, and the teachers are there spewing around, making sure that things are going the right way. This allows kids the space that they need to move around without having to run around. It reminds me of when you go into a school, especially one of the city schools, and it's an indoor recess day, they run around like caged animals because that's how they feel. They're enclosed in a very small space for most of the day. So looking at your classroom with a new eye as to how you can, even if it's just another layer that you've added to your classroom in terms of moving the desks around to give the illusion of creating more space, having that space affects kids in really positive ways. Another way to make some changes in your classroom to make it the student space is the idea of an interactive bulletin board. This one is a really cute idea, although the photograph isn't the greatest of quality. The teacher noticed, and she was a lower school teacher, but it can work for anybody. When kids come into school on Monday mornings, the first thing they want to do is tell you all about their weekend. That's all they want to do is talk about themselves. And when I was a kindergarten teacher, we used to have, time in the morning when we'd have our morning meeting for kids to share. I would allow 2 or 3 kids to share. They had to volunteer to do it. They had to sign up to do it. But this teacher took it a step further. Next to each of the kids' photographs in her classroom, she put these dry erase speech bubbles so that kids would be able to write it down when they came into school. Now, it's an early elementary classroom, so the kids really couldn't write very much at the beginning of the year, but it obviously helped them in their literacy skills as well. And clearly here she had asked them a question. I don't know what the question was, but the answer was either 5 or 6, it looks like. But the idea of having interactive bulletin boards means you're not just slapping pieces of paper or posters up there depending on what the holiday is, but you're involving the kids in all of the space in the classroom. So if you think about, you say to yourself, well, my classroom is so traditional, I share it with 4 other teachers, I can't move the desks around, you must have one space on the walls that belongs to you, and making it so it doesn't belong just to you, but it's somewhere where the kids can interact with you. Maybe it's tell me about it about their Shabbos dinner. Maybe it's tell me about it about the homework that they were assigned this weekend. Maybe it's a tell me about it about something that's going on in their family. It gives them the chance to tell you without having to tell you. And of course, collaboration. I think I've said this in every single module that I've given. When you think about the older kids, offering them that opportunity to not only work in Chavrusa when you do Kodesh classes, or when you do a Gemara class, or when you do a Mishnah, a Chumash class, but offering them that chance no matter what you're teaching. And you could see that these words speak very clearly to why collaboration is so important. I'm reading a book called Brainstorm by Dr. Daniel Siegel about what it is to raise adolescents. And because I have 2, and every day I struggle to get through the day with them. But they're great kids. And one piece that it brought up is this idea of collaboration, which is so important to them. Both to my 16-year-olds and my 13-year-old, their social circles, their actual face-to-face social circles are so important to them. And as we get older, although my friends are very important to me, I don't know how many times during the year I can come home and say to my husband, I made a new friend today. That kind of gets put on the back burner as to levels, things that are important in my life. But for a teenager, it's vital, it's crucial. And allowing your classroom, allowing that space in your classroom and that time during your day to build in collaboration no matter what they're doing really helps them to develop those social skills. And then it helps them to feel that the space that you're giving them to work together is their space as well. So I want to thank you for participating in this module. I hope that you came away with a couple of new ideas to take back into your classroom. I hope that you've come up with some project ideas and that your students have helped you in the design process. I don't want you to forget that process, because in the discussion piece I'm asking you for this week is to talk about how you could use this design process in other areas besides the physical makeup of your classroom. Remember, the process is as follows. Empathize, which means ask the people that come into your classroom every day, ask those that have a stake in what's going on in your classroom, what's missing here, what needs to be changed here. Take their ideas and define and articulate a certain problem or a certain area. Create the ideas, brainstorm ideas, until now we've come up with one place we want to work on. How are we going to do that? Create the prototype, create the design for how that change is going to happen, put it to the test, and start all over again after it's done. As teachers, we're always in the process of making kids better and making ourselves better, so let's not forget that as we move forward. At the end of the course, when you're done, you're going to see there's a space where you can fill out a survey. I'm asking you to please fill out the survey based on this course and others that you've taken with the YU School Partnership. It's the only way that we can better our own program. It's part of our own design process. So thank you so much, and take care.